أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء وخاتم المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين واللعنة الدائمة الباقية إلى أعدائهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم: وجعلنا من الماء كل شيء حي أفلا يؤمنون. صلوات पर एक बार और. In this Thursday night program, since we are just after the Azab Sayyid al-Shuhada and after commemorating the Arba'een of Sayyid al-Shuhada as well as the Wafat of the Prophet and the Eighth Imam, I just wanted to very briefly talk about a very simple issue but relate that to the message of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, that Hussain is not only for Muharram and Ashura, Hussain is not only for Safar and Arba'een. His message for us is for every day. And I would like to, in that perspective, talk about the story of water in a way. Because if you look at the issue of Karbala, Karbala is essentially the story of the water. It actually occupies a very special place when it comes to the suffering of the Ahlul Bayt in Karbala. What is water? We don't need to give any definition about it. It is very obvious, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also talks about it as a reminder, in a sense that there are certain things that we don't need to be to discuss about it, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us about certain things. And one of the things where He says about water is وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ, that every living thing in this world actually it comes from water. Thank you. I need the water actually this one. Salawat par dekbar. So in general, when he talks about life, life comes, hayat comes from water. Specifically about insan, he says, هُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ مِنَ الْمَاءِ بَشَرًا. He is the one who has created the human being from water. And of course, water takes different form after Adam alayhi salam. When we look at even the procreation system that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, is just one drop, which is the beginning of a human being. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has described water as one of the major signs of His mercy and blessing. In Surah Araf, He says, هُوَ الَّذِي يُرْسِلُ الرِّيَاحَ بُشْرًا بَيْنَ يَدَيْ رَحْمَتِهِ, that He is the one who sends the winds to the people as an announcement of His mercy. Because when the winds come, that is where the clouds will follow. And the clouds, and this is where the whole system is, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, حَتَّى إِذَا أَقَلَّتْ صَحَابًا ثِقَالًا سُقْنَاهُ لِبَلَدٍ مَيِّتٍ. It says until the clouds become more dense, that's where Allah says then we water the land which is mayyit. Means the land during the winter time, for example, dies in a way. And then in spring it comes back to life. And this is an example that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses also many times to remind us that don't be surprised of the Qiyamah. People are amazed, how will human beings be brought back to life? It says, look at the earth which dies every year, and then it's revived. And this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to bring human beings back. So He says that the clouds come with the winds, and once the clouds become very dense, فأنزلنا به من الماء, we send down the water, the rain through it. فأخرجنا به من كل الثمرات, and it's through that rain, when it goes into the earth, that you get the fruits. So even our food basically, depends on water. Of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says that there are times when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually uses water, which is a mercy, but sometimes it is His will. He could even use that as an instrument of awab and punishment. Look at the example of the people of Nuh, the famous flood which came to the extent that the son of Nuh, who was disobedient and was not really a believer, when Nuh told him, you should really come onto the ark, he says, فَسَعَاوِي عَلَى جَبَلٍ يَعْصِمُنِ مِنَ الْمَاءِ. He says to his father, I will go and seek refuge on the mountain, and this will prevent me from the water. And that is where Nuh says, لَا عَاصِمَ الْيَوْمِ مِنْ أَمْرِ اللَّهِ. Nothing will be exempted from the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You may go to highest of the mountains, but the water will reach over there also. But even if you look at the modern times, we see that human beings actually take pride, the modern human beings, on the electrical power that we have, the energy that we generate. But that also basically comes from the water which is used by the people in order to generate power. Salawat. Thank you. Some of the historians, when they study the history and they predict the future, according to them, the third world war will not be over oil. It will be on water. Means water will become an issue of conflict. Even in the Middle East, if you look at some of the tension between Lebanon and Israel at the moment, or even with Jordan, is the issue of the river and how it's controlled. And so water is considered to be a very precious thing for human life as well as the environment. But from the Islamic point of view, it also has a religious significance. When we talk about purification of our body, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says it is the water which will purify you physically. And that is where you see in one of the ayat of Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, again He says, He sends the winds as a announcement for His mercy. وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً طَهُورًا. And He sends down, He says, we send down the water which is tahur, it is pure. And this is where we have to realize that purity and cleanliness which comes from the water is a very essential part of the Islamic teaching. Sometimes we actually take our teachings for granted. We as Muslims, from childhood, we are told about the issue of najasat and taharat and the importance of water. And because we take it for granted, we sometimes do not appreciate. Of course, Muslims do not always live up to the expectation that Islam has. The religion which says an-nadhafatu min al-iman. Cleanliness is part of the faith. It's part of iman. Look at the present time. You will see many, Western countries are more clean compared to many, many Muslim cities around the world. And you start wondering, what has happened? Whereas things were reversed in the past. I'll just give one example to appreciate what we had. Till about mid-19th century, the use of water to clean yourself on your body was not really considered to be normal in European society. If you take a bath, that was considered to be, you're not feeling well, so you need to take a bath. It was a part of your medical treatment, not a norm that Muslims for the last 14 centuries have been doing. And just to give you one example, that in 1812, so we are not that far away from that. 1812, the mayor of London, the mayor of London, they have a special residence assigned for him. And that year, in one of the news items, they had that one of the debates in the city council was the request put in by the mayor of London in 1812. He said this official residence of the mayor of London doesn't have shower, doesn't have facility for bath. And so he was asking for funds so that that can be added. After long deliberation and discussion, they concluded that since this is not necessity of life, so we do not sanction that in the budget. If the mayor is so much interested, he can use his own money to buy, to build such a facility where he can then take it with him when his term ends. And so, for us, 1400 years ago, usage of water as taharat and ghusl, this was an essential part of our life. And this is where we have to realize that when we talk about certain things that we have in Islam, we take it for granted. A very simple issue. But if you compare to where Islam had, talked about it 1400 years ago, we were really much, much ahead of time. Unfortunately, Muslim, lost eventually because they were not, true to the teachings of the Quran, the Prophet, and the Ahlul Bayt, alayhi salatu wassalam. Salawat pradhne par. When we talk about the issues of water, let me just share with you some of the masail before I go to the history part of it and the connection of water with the seerah of Ahlul Bayt. One is the issue, the concept of israf. We sometimes think that israf is in all other things, but water, it is plentiful around. But we are told even when you do wudu, technically, if you look at the books of Masail, the amount of water which is required for basic wudu would be not more than a small bowl. But these days, with all these new gadgets that we have, at least those days, you had to go and get water, put it somewhere in a utensil, and then you do the wudu. So your usage was in a way controlled, although it caused hardship. Now you just on the tap. By the time you do your niyat and finish your wuzu, so much water goes down the drain. And this is where we sometimes, don't really think about it. And this is where we have to realize in Islam we are told that even when you are doing wudu, there is a concept of israf in usage of water. Be careful about how you use the water. And sometimes we become very stingy on this issue that, I must make sure that, my masa is proper, so you let the tap run until you're done the masa, both, and then you say, okay, now I can put the tap off. No. There are different ways that you can control. So we have to think about it because Islam even talks about this issue. When it comes to the water, it is considered to be kind of a basic human rights for us. We are not allowed to prevent water from anyone. If a person really is thirsty or dying of thirst, it is necessary to give water to that person. To the extent that we are told, one of the hadiths that we have from Amir al-Mu'minin Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam, he says on the day of Qiyamah, أول ما يبدأ في الآخرة صدقة الماء. When it comes to the issue of when you will be given the sawab and reward, the first sawab that will be given to you will be for the charity that you gave in form of water. And it's considered to be so important that will be the first thing as far as the reward is concerned. We know in the Masail that if you're traveling, suppose you have your animals, or even if you have a dog, and you have a shortage of water, and it's time of namaz, if you fear that by using water for wuzu, not only you but your animals can go through thirst, then the requirement is that you don't use the water for wuzu, you do tayammum. And this is where we have to realize that even when it comes to animals, we should not prevent water from the animals also. Even when it comes to the enemies, if you are fighting, you can have your battle, but when it comes to water, you cannot prevent water from your enemies. And in history, when we look at this seerah, it's really, sometimes when we say there are two versions of Islam. There is one Islam which is Islam Alawi, and then is another Islam which is Islam Umawi. You see a very clear distinction between both, even on the issue of how they use the water. You look at the example of the days of the third Khalifa, Uthman, because of his wrong and unjust policies about distribution of Baytul Mal, the Muslims in general actually they started an uprising against him. People from Iraq, a delegation came from there, a delegation came from Egypt, and even the Sahaba in Medina. They were not only, it's not that their motives were also very clear. No, many of them had concern that Uthman had actually restricted the pie of Baytul Mal to Banu Umayyah. And so even the Sahaba were now deprived of their privileged shares in Baytul Mal, which they used to get before. If Uthman had given it to them as before, there wouldn't have been any problem. So their problem was that, what happened to our share there? And so they and the other Muslims who were deprived in general, they basically became against Uthman. Eventually they put his house under siege. This is in Medina, and the people of Medina, supported by the people from Kufa and Egypt. Amir al-Mu'minin, of course, he was opposed to the policies of Uthman, but he did not agree with the decisions taken by the rebels. And one of the decisions was they put the house under siege, and they prevented food and water reaching the house of Uthman. In those days, you didn't have water inside the home. There was no pipe running through. You had to go and get it from the well in the neighborhood. And this is where we see the example of, the Alawi akhlaq and behavior, where Amir al-Mu'minin then calls Hassan and Hussein. And he actually commands them. He says, take your swords and gather the youths of Banu Hashim with you, ask them to be armed, and go and take water and food. Even if you had to break the siege of the Muslims, break that and go to the house of Uthman and convey the water and food to him. Although he disagreed with his of policies, he didn't consider him to be a just ruler in any way. But when it came to this issue of food, you cannot deny it even from your worst enemy. And because, Hassan and Hussein, they were the grandsons of the Prophet, the Muslims did not dare, fight them. They came with their cousins, all the youths of Banu Hashim were together, and they actually took water to the house of Uthman when Uthman was under siege. And this will play out in a different way in Siffin as well as in Karbala. Let me go to this story of Siffin. Salawat on Ekbar. When Amir al-Mu'minin decided to confront Muawiyah after the Battle of Jamal, he went to Kufa, made Kufa his capital. And when he planned that, it is time now to confront Muawiyah, this is where Muawiyah also gathered his army. And Siffin is actually on the Iraqi side, Syrian side of the border at the moment. And this is where we see that, Muawiyah reached to the area known as Siffin before Amir al-Mu'minin and his army. And what he did was, in order to prevent the soldiers of Ali from any access to water, he stationed his soldiers on both sides of the river. So that when they come, they will not be allowed. And basically he planned in such a way that even if they have to go for water, they will have to go very far away. And so when Amir al-Mu'minin saw this problem, before even they met or discussed, negotiated or decided to fight, Amir al-Mu'minin selected one of his companions, Sabine Sohan. So Sabine Sohan was a very close companion of Amir al-Mu'minin. He is among the few who was allowed to attend the janazah of Amir al-Mu'minin. He was a khatib and a poet in his own right. And he's the one who, after the burial of Amir al-Mu'minin, actually stood up, picked up the earth from the grave of Amir al-Mu'minin, put it on his head, and then started reciting Marsiyah, which made even Hassan and Hussein cry. And so he was very close, very, very eloquent and powerful. So Ali selected him and he said, why don't you go and meet Muawiyah on my behalf and resolve this problem of water? Tell him, we can fight later on, but what is this nonsense that you have here? So he went there and, talked to Muawiyah, and he said, this is your cowardice that you are preventing, creating barriers between us and water, and you better remove this. We have come here, we can have our negotiations later on, and if we have to fight, we will fight. But at the moment, remove this, the barrier that you have put. This is where Muawiyah actually felt very proud of what he had done. He thought this is the beginning of his victory against Amir al-Mu'minin. And his, chamchas, the people around him, the advisors also were of the same kind. People like Walid bin Uqba, who is known to be one of the fasiq mentioned in the Quran. He supported him and he said that, you should deny Ali and his forces water, just as Uthman bin Affan was denied water. Think about the irony of history. They want to deny water from Ali. Ali, who actually sent his sons with water to the house of Uthman. Another Umayyad who was there, Abdullah bin Abi Sarah, a cousin of Muawiyah, he says to Muawiyah, "Imna'hum al-ma' ila al-layl." Stop them from water for the whole night. فَإِنَّهُمْ إِن لَمْ يَقْدِرُوا عَلَيْهِ رَجَوْا. Once they will be thirsty, they wouldn't have water, they will retreat and go back. And their retreat would be their, defeat. إِمْنَعْهُمُ اللَّهُ أَنْعَمُهُ اللَّهُ إِيَّاهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. That first part was not really that serious for Sa'sa bin Sohan. The last sentence that he has, he says, and may Allah prevent them or deprive them of water on the day of Qiyamah. This is where Sa'sa couldn't take it anymore. He says, إِنَّمَا يَمْنَعُهُ اللَّهُ الْفَجْرَ وَشَرَبَةُ الْخَمَرَ. Allah will deprive the fajr, the sinful people and the drunkard ones like you. لَعَنَكَ اللَّهُ وَلَعْنَ هَذَا الْفَاسِقِ. May Allah curse you and this fasiq, referring to Walid bin Uqba. The only person, and this is interesting, the only person among the advisors of Muawiyah who was against this whole policy, he was Amr ibn As. Amr ibn As says to Muawiyah, just take away this barrier, let Ali, have access to water, because if Ali had reached here before us, he would not deprive us of water. Amr ibn As realizes the greatness of Ali, that if he had come before us, he would not, prevent us from water. But Muawiyah still refused. He was adamant about this issue. And he says, لا والله أو يموت عطشانا كما مات عثمان. He says, no, I will not give them access until they die thirsty the way Osman died. And so Sabine Sohan came back and he conveyed the whole story and conversation to Amir al-Mu'mineen. Imam said, okay, just ready a force, size of good size, so that you can deal with these people who are preventing us from water. So the forces of Amir al-Mu'mineen attacked Muawiyah's soldier who were guarding the river, and after 7 to 9 of them were killed, they all ran to the other side. And so the access was now open. And at that time, after this first defeat, Amr ibn actually asked Muawiyah, he says, what do you think now Ali would do? He's pushed our forces far away from the river. Muawiyah says, well, I don't think he's going to prevent us from water. And this is a testimony from an arch enemy of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. And that's actually what Ali did. He says, now this access to water is open for both forces from both sides. And this is where, these are very simple matters in a way, but if you really look at it from the historical point of view, this is where you get into the seerah of Ahlul Bayt, the distinction that Ahlul Bayt had against people like Banu Umayyah, and the ideology that many Muslims follow these days. And this seerah basically continued in the family of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Even if you look at the example of Hur, and before I go to Urdu, let me just conclude with that Imam Hussain alayhi salam, when he traveled from Mecca to Karbala, you hear the word manzil or manazil, means different points where the caravan would stop. What does that manzil mean? Manzil actually means those days, if just to relate to our example, when you travel by car, you have different rest areas on the road, on the highways, where you stop there, to rest yourself or refuel your car or refuel yourself, and then you continue your journey. And you are told that, the next gas station would be so many, 200 kilometers away. So those days, the people who used to lead the caravans, they knew. So they know, okay, this is the manzil, where the manzil means the place where you'll get water. You will supply your caravan with water. But they didn't want to take extra water, otherwise the burden on the camels will be more heavier and their speed will decrease. So the caravan, the guides knew. They said, okay, from this manzil to the next one, it's a day's journey or 2 days' journey. So they will only take that much water which was good enough for that, a day or two. But when Imam reached to the manzil known as Sharaf, this is the place before he met Hur. That day early in the morning when the caravan got ready, according to the famous historian Tabari, Imam actually called the young people who were assigned this duty of filling the water bags. And there were some camels were just for this. They would just carry the water bags, the big mushks. And Imam actually called them and he said, today when you get the water, I would like you to take extra than what we need. Nobody knew why. And this is what I'm saying. Some people who have difficulty with this concept of ilm ghaib, this is one example. Why did Hussein ibn Ali, against the norm of all, manazil where he would stop, he's asking his young men to take extra water? Because he knew that, he's going to meet the cavalry force of Hur bin Yazid al-Riyahi. An Imam uses that ilm ghaib, or even the power of mu'jiza and miracle, not for himself. He uses it in order to help others or provide guidance to others. Salawat padhne ke baad. ایام ازا کے اختتام پہ حسین کی یاد میں ہم نے پانی کے بارے میں سلسلے سے کچھ باتیں آپ کے سامنے پیش کی ہے ہم نے. یہ معاملہ پانی کا جو ہے وہ بہت ہی اہم حصہ ہے ہماری تاریخ کربلا کا. کہ امام حسین علیہ السلام نے جب حور کے لشکر سے جب ملاقات ہوئی ہے، صلوات پڑھنے ایک بار امام نے در حقیقت جب حور اور اس کے گھوڑوں کو دیکھا ہے تو فوراً ہی اندازہ لگا کہ یہ سب پیاسے ہیں. امام نے پوچھا نہیں اور حر نے پانی نہیں مانگا تھا. حسین ابن علی نے خود ہی جو ہے اپنے جوانوں کو حکم دیا کہ جو پانی کی مشکیزیں ہیں وہ لے کے آؤ، اور نہ صرف ان سپاہیوں کو بلکہ ان کے گھوڑوں کو بھی سیراب کرو. روایات میں ہے کہ آخری سپاہی جو آیا تھا وہ غالباً اس کا اونٹ جو ہے ذرا سلو تھا، تو وہ کہتا ہے کہ ہم بالکل آخر میں پہنچے ہیں اور دوسرے جتنے جوان جن کے پاس مشکیزیں تھے وہ سب بیزے تھے دوسروں کو سرو کرنے میں. امام نے ہماری کیفیت کو دیکھا اور خود حسین ابن علی بذات خود مشکیزے کو اٹھاتے ہیں، اس کے پاس گئے اور اسے جو ہے سیراب کرتے ہیں. اور یہی اخلاق تھا در حقیقت جس نے پارشلی جو اثر ہوا ہے جناب حر پہ، وہ اسی امام کے اس اخلاق حسنہ کی بنیاد پر ہے. اور اسی سے ہمیں وہ سبق ملتا ہے کہ چاہے ہمارے سامنے دشمنی کیوں نہ ہو، جہاں تک پانی کی بات ہے ہم اس کو نہیں روکیں گے. حسین نے حر سے نہیں پوچھا تھا پہلے کہ تم دوست بن کے آئے ہو یا دشمن بن کے آئے ہو. ان کی پیاس کو دیکھا اور حسین نے انہیں سیراب کیا ہے. صلوات پڑھنے ایک بار. 7 محرم کو ابن زیاد نے جب عمر بن سعد کو خط لکھا ہے پانی کے بندش کے سلسلے میں، اس کے الفاظ دیکھیں آپ: ان خل بین الحسین واصحابہ و بین الماء، کہ میرا حکم ہے تمہارے لیے کہ تم حسین اور ان کے اصحاب اور پانی کے درمیان ایک بیریئر یعنی فوج کے ذریعے ایک حائل بن جائے. فلا یذوق منہ قطرۃ، تاکہ اس دریا سے ایک قطرہ بھی ان کو نہ ملے. کیوں؟ کما صنع بالتقی الذکی عثمان بن عفان، یہ بدلہ ہے اس کام کا جو عثمان بن عفان کے ساتھ ہوا تھا کہ اسے بھی پیاسا رکھا گیا ہے. یعنی آپ سوچ لیں کہ یہ بدلہ کس سے لے رہے ہیں؟ بدلہ اس سے لے رہے ہیں کہ جو اپنے بابا کے حکم پہ پانی لے کے عثمان کے دروازے تک گئے ہیں. یعنی اسی سے آپ دیکھیں کہ ان کے کس پست منزل پہ یہ لوگ ہیں. اور امام حسین علیہ السلام در حقیقت جو ہے عاشور کے دن تمام شہداء پیاسے تھے، تمام بچے پیاسے تھے، لیکن جو سب سے زیادہ پیاسا انسان اگر تھا کربلا میں عاشور کے دن تو وہ حسین ابن علی تھے. اس لیے کہ حسین کو پہلے سے معلوم تھا کہ 7 کے بعد پانی جو ہے بند ہو جائے گا. مولا نے پہلے ہی سے پانی کا استعمال اپنے لیے کم کر دیا تھا. اور در حقیقت یہ اگر آپ دیکھیں تو اس کا اندازہ اس وقت ہوتا ہے کہ جب جناب علی اکبر آئے ہیں جنگ جیتنے کے بعد، حسین ابن علی سے انعام میں کیا مانگا ہے؟ پانی کا ایک قطرہ مانگا تھا. الفاظ اکبر کے یہی تھے کہ یا ابتا العطش قد قتلنی، کہ بابا پیاس نے مجھے قتل کر دیا ہے، وثقل الحدید اجہدنی، اور اسلحے کی سنگینی نے مجھے تھکا دیا ہے، کچھ سبیل ہے کہ پانی کا ایک قطرہ مل سکے تاکہ میری تقویت ہو سکے۔ حسین ابن علی ولی خدا تھے، ولی مطلق تھی، پوری کائنات ان کے تصرف میں تھی۔ اگر وہ چاہتے ایک معجزہ کے ذریعے علقمہ کے رخ کو موڑ سکتے تھے، کربلا کی طرف خیمے تک لا سکتے تھے، لیکن حسین جانتے تھے خدا میرا امتحان لے رہا ہے، آج مجھے قوت اعجاز کے استعمال کی اجازت نہیں ہے، بس بیٹے کو سمجھانے کے لیے اپنی زبان دیتے ہیں۔ یہ در حقیقت ایک طریقہ تھا یہ بتانے کے لیے کہ بیٹا یقیناً تم پیاسے ہو، لیکن تمہارا بابا جو ہے تم سے زیادہ بھی پیاسا ہے۔ اور اکبر کو احساس ہوا جیسے ہی زبان دہن میں رکھتے ہیں کہ بابا آپ کی زبان تو زیادہ خشک ہے۔ اس وقت حسین نے کہا تھا کہ بیٹا جاؤ، تیرے جد آ چکے ہیں اور انہوں نے ایک پانی کا کاسا لے کے تمہارے انتظار میں ہیں، تمہیں اس طرح سے سیراب کریں گے کہ پھر تمہیں کبھی بھی پیاس نہیں ہوگی۔ عزاداران حسین، یہ کرب کا عالم امام حسین علیہ السلام کے چہرے پر مایوسی کے جو آثار تھے اس کو اکبر بھول نہیں سکے، اس لیے کہ اکبر کے سینے پر جب برچی لگی ہے اور گھوڑے سے جب زمین پہ آئے ہیں تو بابا کو سلام کرنے کے بعد ایک طولانی جملہ ادا کرتے ہیں کہ بابا میرے جد آ چکے ہیں، انہوں نے مجھے سیراب کر دیا ہے، آپ کا اکبر اب پیاسا نہیں۔ آخر وقت بھی اکبر کو یہ خیال تھا کہ بابا کی غم میں ذرا کمی آ جائے، بابا افسوس نہ کرے کہ بیٹے نے پانی مانگا تھا لیکن میں پانی نہ دے سکا۔ الا لعنت اللہ علی القوم الظالمین سیعلم الذین ظلموا ای منقلب ینقلبون۔ خداوند اس کے لباس قبول فرما، ہمارے گناہوں کو بخش دے، ہماری توفیقات میں اضافہ فرما۔ خداوند جہاں جہاں شیعان علی ہیں ان کو اپنی حفظ امان میں رکھ، تکفیری افواج جہاں جہاں ان کو نیست و نابود فرما، امام کے ظہور میں تعجیل فرما۔ ربنا تقبل منا انک انت السمیع العلیم۔